Hey friends, it's Tracy. Welcome to today's video. I'm excited to share some spring DIYs with you. Now, this video is in collaboration. I'll tell you about that a little bit more later. But for now, let's go ahead and get started. Let me show you my spring DIYs.
There have been many creators who have created this bird cage using one of those football forms from the Dollar Tree, and so I decided to put my spin on it. So what I'm using is one of the football forms from the Dollar Tree, as well as all of the supplies that you see here. Now what I did is I just took my wire cutters and cut off in the middle, and then you can see there that little extra piece I just discarded. To give my bird cage a distress look, I'm just kind of stippling on some plaster color chalk paint and just kind of, giving it the coverage that I wanted. I put that to the side to dry because I'll work on that a little bit later. Okay, so I'm using one of these 8-inch metal pie pans that I got from the Dollar Tree. Now, I wish I would have got the smaller one, but anyway, I'm just using what I had. And so I just trying to make my own rusty distress look of it just with paint. So I put tons of plaster color chalk paint. I also used some acrylic brown paint. I used my antique wax. And so honestly, it took me a little bit of time, but I just kind of played with it until I got the look that I like. And this is how my pan turned out with all of the layers of paint. All right, so I have this 4-inch just terracotta bottom that I painted with cashew. That is what I'm going to use to kind of use as my nest. All right, so I also have this package of finials from Walmart. I took out the 4 that I wanted and I gave them, just some distressing using that antique wax. Then what I did is I used them on the bottom of my pie pan or my bird cage just to give it a stand. I just adhered those with E6000 as well as some hot glue. All right, so then that terracotta pot bottom is just going to add like a nest just to kind of give it a little height. I am just using 4 tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree just to lift it up a bit, just attaching those with hot glue and some E6000 just to just to give it some height. All right, so then now I'm going to start adding my Spanish moss and all of my things to, make my bird cage. Now, I'll be honest with you, I had purchased 2 different birds. One, I had the larger one I already had on hand. It was a little bit too big for my little bird cage. And then I got a smaller one. Well, that one was too small. So I really needed kind of like a medium one. But I am here to encourage you, to inspire you, just to show you, different things that other people have done. And I am inspired by them. And so I want to put my own spin on it. And so that is my purpose for you. Use what you have. And so that's what I'm doing. I know my bird's a little bit too small. I wish it was a little bit bigger. But anyway, I am just, forming my bird cage or my Spanish moss. And then I have some pip berries that I found at a yard sale. I found a big old bag of them for $1 and they had my name on them. I'm like, oh yes, I'm taking those home. They're a little bit worn and rustic. And so I am just, adding a few sprigs of those to my bird cage just for some spring softness. So I just started positioning my little bird in my cage just to get the placement that I wanted. And then to kind of close off my bird cage, I had some of these rusty springs that I found I think at a yard sale. I think I found these at a yard sale. Anyway, but they were I was going to like wrap them around, like the bird cage to kind of like have it closed. Well, they were too stiff. There was no stretching them. And so I just decided to use a few of those pipberry sprigs just to wrap them around some of the wires, just to give it, just to tie the project all in together. Yeah, and I really wasn't satisfied with that either. So I went digging in my stash and found some of these nest and some more neutral colored eggs. And so what I did is I took that Spanish moss out of that clay pot, little platter thing. And then I just put the nest in there and pulled out those bright colored eggs and just added a few of the muted color eggs. And oh my goodness, I love this so much. Oh yes, that's what I needed. My bird fits great in there. What I did, just have it here on the side table. I just added a strand of just some fairy lights from the Dollar Tree, just battery operated fairy lights. And yeah, I just love how my little football wire form birdcage turned out. Today is a special day because I have the privilege of collaborating with these awesome, talented YouTubers. Now, this collaboration is hosted by Liana DIY, and she has some very talented friends that are in this collaboration. If you are coming over from one of their channels, welcome. My name is Tracy. I love to share crafty ideas with a bit of rustic country charm. I have a playlist full of all kind of country crafts. I love to do all sort of things, and so if you're not already a subscriber of mine, I would love it if you would become a subscriber. And I will have the playlist for today's collaboration listed in the description box below. Let me go ahead and get into the next DIY. Carrots aren't just for rabbits anymore. We can decorate them for our home to bring in the spring season. For my supplies, I'm using one of these boards from Dollar Tree, as well as some asparagus fern and some greenery in my stash. Now, the orange and white ribbon came from Hobby Lobby, and then I'm also going to be cutting that with my pinking shears. Now, this board, as I said, is from Dollar Tree and measures about 16 inches by 6 inches, and it's perfect for little projects like this. So what I did is just took the jute string off of the back, and then to measure my carrots, I figured out how big I wanted the, top part of it, and then I just kind of decreased the size a little bit as I went down the carrot. Now I'm using my friction pen, which is a disappearing ink. I got those off of Amazon, and so it's great for little projects like this where you want to mark something. Before I glue down my ribbon pieces, I want to make my top part. So as I said, as I mentioned, I have some of this greenery that I had in my stash. I think this asparagus looking greenery came from Wal-mart, and then the other one, I think I got that from Hobby Lobby. It's just kind of pieces that I just am layering together just to make me a whimsical carrot here. And so then once I gather them together, then what I'm going to do is cut off some of that end. But first, just to kind of hold it all together, I'm using my floral tape. That's going to be covered up. I just have the brown. You can also get floral tape like in green, but I'm out of that and I just have this brown, but I'm going to be covering up with some burlap ribbon anyway, so it was no big deal. And once my bow, I put it on there, you didn't even see any of this. And so I just cut off the ends of it just so that it was straight and not straggly. And so then, as I mentioned, I'm using some of this burlap ribbon. That probably came from a Walmart like after Christmas. And I love it for, little projects like this. All right, so then to glue down my ribbon pieces, I'm using my Fabri-Tac glue. And first I started, just using the nozzle. Well, then I got smart and it said work smarter, not harder, Tracy. So I got a stick and then, just dipped it in the Fabri-Tac glue and kind of spread it on like you're spreading butter on a piece of toast. And that worked much better. And so then I got all of this glued down, and this Fabri-Tac glue dries clear, and so there was no problem. Once I got to the top part, I wanted to glue down my, like the top part of the carrot before I glue down my top piece of my carrot. So I just do that just with some E6000, and I know I didn't show that, but also I use some E6000 glue as well as hot glue to make sure that the top of my carrot was glued down really well. So then once I got that all in place, then I glued down my top piece of my carrot so that it would kind of help mask that greenery and look really nice. Okay, so then for a hanger for my sign, I'm just using this 4-ply jute. I just tied 2 knots on the end so that it would hold and look very nice. This jute 4-ply comes from Hobby Lobby, and so then I just do it on the other side as well, and then I just make sure and glue that down really well so that it, does well with for the hanger. And I like to use the Gorilla hot glue. I do feel that I get a very good hold with that. And this is how it looks. I love it so much. All right, so then now I'm going to work on my bow. And so I pulled out some different fabrics as well as different ribbons and trims. And so I'm just cutting here and just making kind of like a messy bow. I have some frayed burlap from Hobby Lobby. I have some coffee stained muslin. I just have some different laces and trims and all of that good stuff. So I'm just kind of making an X pattern, and I'm also going to be adding some of that burlap to make a bow with it. And then I'm going to make a little tag that says hippity hoppity, because we all love that for springtime and our sweet DIY ribbon carrots. So the burlap ribbon has wire in it, and I just make the 2-loop bow and use my little tiny attacher to staple it off in the middle, and then I just use a piece of muslin fabric just to tie it all off. Okay, so for my tag, this is a Manila Market tag. The brown marker is a Posca brown marker. It is the 5M, which is the larger one, and I got that off of Amazon as well. And so I'm just hand lettering hippity hoppity here, just doing my happy dots, and just what I like to do. That is just kind of my style for my country crafts. And then once that that lettering is dry, what I do is just kind of bend it back and forth just to give it some an aged look where it's not so crisp and clean. I want it to look a little roughed up. And so then I'm using my vintage photo distress ink and just a little finger dauber and just going around just to give it some color around the tag itself. Then I say, oh, you need some little doodling, so I have my ultra fine Sharpie marker in the color brown. I bought a big pack of the colored Sharpie markers one year for Christmas. I think I got them from Wal-mart, but it could be, you can get Sharpie markers really anywhere, and the colored ones are just so easy to find now. Okay, so then for my tag, to attach it to my bow, I'm using some hemp cording or jewelry cording. I just tie off a little piece of that. Then I'm going to add a bit more whimsy by adding more of that jewelry cording, just making a 2-loop bow, 4 loops all together, 2 loops on each side. I just tie that off and then just tie it all in the middle. And then I'm going to glue that to the top of my carrot just with my hot glue and E6000, just to make sure that everything is nice and secure. Then to kick it up a notch and add a bit more pizzazz, I have this Craft Bond adhesive as well as some glitter, and I just attach some of that, or just spray some of that on there just to kick it up a notch and add a little bit more whimsy. Oh, everyone needs a little spring arrangement, and these beautiful pink flowers, as well as one of those flowers and garden pails from the Dollar Tree, really does make a nice little arrangement. Okay, so these are the supplies I'm using. The flowers came from Walmart. I'm using one of those pails from Dollar Tree, and then some styrofoam and some pit berries. Now, these pit berries came from Hobby Lobby. They're on the garland already. You can buy those, and then I just take those off and use them in my decor. It just really adds a lot of rustic touch. Softness and touches that I like. Okay, so I take my little bucket and just add some of the styrofoam, and then now I'm using some Excelsior. I love the fine Excelsior. It's kind of like hay. Also, people ask, what is Excelsior? It's kind of like Spanish moss, so just something like that. All right, so then I just take the little pink flowers apart, just using my wire cutters, and then I just start forming them in there. I'm not a florist, I don't claim to be or anything, but I have just found over the years that, just by just adding just different florals and just kind of layering them, stacking them up, and using things in between, just like these white pit berries that I love for my country rustic projects, just adds a lot of softness. And so, I just kind of just continue to add into my little floral arrangement. And what I was showing a while ago with the pit berries that have the steel pick, that I use my steel picks machine, and it really helps with securing my florals in place in the styrofoam. And this is just the perfect little floral arrangement to add a bit of pink and spring into my craft room. Okay, friends, I hope that you've enjoyed my spring DIYs, and a big thank you to Liana DIY for asking me to be in this collaboration. Don't forget, the playlist link will be in the description box below. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate you all. God bless you. We will see you in the next video.